Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
In our era of program mediocrity, the events here at Summit Point Raceway give us the opportunity to experience quality of machinery, people, and performance. 55 is the speed limit, and it also is the IQ required to get along successfully in our time, but nothing requires us to live like that at the point. Competitors take it right to the limit, both physically and mentally, while the spectators enjoy and appreciate the performances. Tom Milner and I would like to bring these general concepts of quality to our stewardship at Summit Point. We've witnessed the incredible sidecar racers at Zolder, experienced the color and spirit at Brands Hatch and Hockenheim, enjoyed corn on the cob and bratwurst at Elkhart Lake, and seen the way around the grounds and the way the grounds are tended to at Mid-Ohio. And we think Summit Point can incorporate the best of our experiences at other tracks. Really, that understates our position. We know that Summit Point can be, and we intend to turn it into a quality facility that will be the pride and joy of our motorsports community, because quality always is earned and doesn't happen overnight. Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 23 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Larry Lefty McLeod with Lee Thompson in the virtual production truck, bringing you all the best camera angles and action that Apex Racing TV is known for. And so Bill Scott was the 1968 European Amateur Super V champion, won the same title here in the States a year later, and then went on to win the World Professional titles the following 2 years. But for many, he was known not for what he did behind the wheel, but what he did off the track. Purchasing a bankrupt racetrack right outside of Washington, D.C. in 1979, fostering a burgeoning motorsports community, and selflessly mentoring many up-and-coming racers until his passing in 2009. He wrote those words just after he and Tom Milner, later of PTG fame, purchased Summit Point. And tonight, it's round 6 and 7 of the championship, Larry, with two 30-minute sprint races at this very quaint club track that is so very special to me. And just like Mr. Scott said, I'm sure those races will be quality.
They absolutely will be, and I'm so glad, Greg, to call this race with you, because you were there in '68, I'm sure, when this land was purchased to put this track. I'm
Yes.
sure you were a part of that and probably even raced in that form of the V Series.
At
and you won the
Marlboro
championship
too.
there.
Yes, absolutely.
But having said all that, it is a great little track nestled there in the woods there of outside of DC, I believe just on the West Virginia side of the border. If I got
That is
right.
right.
Yep, and it is kind of a gem. Those folks around there love this little place, and I think for what we have in store tonight with these Toyotas and with these Mazdas, we are going to have some of the best racing, because this place seems to really be built for this kind of car, if you ask me. It's going to be lots of passing in a lot of places, and other times it'll be a bit of a train with just on the verge of chaos, and we might get a little bit of both. So I'm kind of looking forward to this. What better way to celebrate our Independence Day than to have this just outside our nation's capital?
That is so right, Larry. This is a track that has so many different types of corners here. You've got a very long, not a corner, but a very long straightaway, a front straight that's almost 0.6 of a mile long, and then some very tight corners that really they benefit those who are smooth with their throttle inputs and their braking as well. And so let's do this. Let's turn things over to Kevin Ford. He's going to give us tonight's track guide of Summit Point Raceway.
Welcome, everyone, to Summit Point Raceway. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 2-mile, 10-turn road course. This place is really a wonderful course to drive, and especially in these Mazdas. Well, let's head down our front straightaway here. As you'll notice, our pit exit to the right. Very long straight, nearly 3,000 feet in length. As we head across the stripe here at the flag stand, we'll get our run down the hill here into this very hard brake zone of turn 1, known as the loop. Certainly overtaking happens here coming down into this brake zone. See a lot of drivers trying to make moves down into this corner. As we exit, we're going to track out wide, get up through the gears here around turn 2. This will set us up for the entry to turn 3 as we stay track right here for this next left-hander. Known as Wagon Bend, bit of a tricky corner, blind on entry, but it wraps back. Not a lot of track out space there for the exit. This will bring us down what is known as the chute through turn 4. This is a very fast entry, but coming right off of it, you have to really nail these brakes and get down through the gears for this very tight left-hander of turn 5. This will set us up for the loop, right-hander of 6. This will bring us into turn 7, and then through 8, and then back to the right, wide open through here. Got to really set up that rotation early for that corner coming out of 9. And then down in towards Paddock Bend here. There's your pit entry to the right. Very fast entry here into this final corner. Just a brush of the brakes. Let that car track out to get some good speed on that exit to head down this 3,000-foot straightaway once again. Coming across the stripe, there you go. There's your track guide for the incredible Summit Point Raceway. Thank you for being with us.
And thanks to Kevin Ford for tonight's not-so-great track guide of Summit Point Raceway. As Larry, as you know, we've been talking off air, and you know, I've got so many laps here. You know, I wish I could race Kevin there. I wish I was as fast in an MX-5 as Kevin is, but there are definitely some places around this track that I could make moves on him all day long. But thanks so much to Kevin for that. Here, as we've got our drivers heading out onto track right now for their 15-minute qualifying session. We'll give all of our drivers the opportunity to set a fast lap and set tonight's grid. And we give them 4 flying laps in which to do so. We're on board right now with David Payton as he makes his way down through turn 4, down through the chute and into turn 5. And there you go, David Payton. He knows the way, Larry. Center of track.
It's a good line. The fast guys will figure it out. And we'll know who those fast guys are here in a few minutes as we get qualifying now underway. But I can tell you in the practice, it was the Mazdas, a couple of them faster than any of the quickest of the Toyotas. So that'll be interesting. We do know here in this league, the Toyotas will start their grid separately from the Mazdas, and typically the Toyotas are going to be first, but we might see some Mazdas faster. But in this sprint format, it's not going to be. We have 2 fabulous races kind of intermixing in that you're going to see the front of the pack of the Mazdas beating each other up, and then mixing it in with the back of the Toyota pack, and vice versa. The front of the Toyota pack are going to be pretty evenly stacked, and they'll catch the back of that Mazda pack pretty early, and it's going to get pretty chaotic twice because we have 2 count them to 30-minute races. This should be a whole lot of fun.
Yes, and Larry, as we're watching here now with Tom Jenkins making his way through the carousel here, turns 6, 7, and 8, you can see how narrow this track is. In most places, the track is wide enough for 3 cars to go side by side around this course. That is assuming that the cars on driver's left and the cars on driver's right have their outer tires on that white line, and then you got a couple millimeters. There's not a lot of room. It does make it rather easy to defend here if you know where to place your car, but it also can, if you don't know where to place the car, can open you up in some very, what some people might consider unorthodox areas might open you up to some other people making passing attempts on you here as we're early on in qualifying. And let's break it down. We've got both the GR86s, which are our club sport cars, and you'll find them for example, our Club Sport AM field, and we're looking at Leo Dragata, who for a moment was our fastest driver on track, now our 3rd fastest driver overall. The AM cars in Club Sport, they've got the orange mirrors, they're yellowish orange mirrors, while the Club Sport Pro drivers in the Toyotas, much like Bobby Childs here from D2D eRacing, they're going to have the black mirrors on the cars, black number boards, and then we also have our Mazda MX-5s. Those are the Street Tuner cars, and in Street Tuner, let's take a look at Street Tuner Pro and Chris Thorman from D2D eRacing, and they have the red mirrors on their cars, and the AM drivers, they have the green mirrors on their cars, like Jeff Cranston from Craney Customs here in the number 97 machine. And if you take a look at the timing tower on the left-hand side, well, you know, we color code everything there for you, so you should be able to pretty easily pick out who is in which class over the course of the evening.
What I can tell you right now is Rob Schwenkler is quick right now in his Club Sport Toyota. That 121.2 is the quickest on the board of anybody. We'll see how long that lasts, as we got a couple of our Mazdas now making their second and now approaching their 3rd lap. So we'll see if any of them cannot do that. But that's a quick time. He is in the Club Sport AM division, which is pretty hotly contested there with Joey Rutledge right there behind Leo Dragota, also in that mix. So very, very tight matchup there. Club Sport Pro tonight, you're seeing your leader in that one being Scott Banks, Bobby Childs in second. It's, I believe, Eric Violet kind of missing here tonight, not able to make it to this one. So I see him registered in this session, but I don't see him joined.
Yeah, exactly. I'm showing him as just having joined the session, and he's got the car in the pits. So we'll have to definitely have to see. Now, Larry, in practice during the week, in the GR86s, in the Club Sport cars, Tom Rathke was the fastest driver with a time of 120.944. You know, but that's in a practice session, not in a lone qualifying session, and quite likely was set with a draft. So the fact that we've got these drivers like Schwenkler and Jenkins and Rutledge that are in the 21.2s and 21.3s without the benefit of a draft, I think is quite good. In the MX-5s, in the Street Tuner cars, Brennan Horn was your fastest driver during the week with a 120.984. So only 400ths off of the Toyota times. And again, same deal when we take a look at the Street Tuners. Well, actually, we're already looking here at about the same rate, at like a 121.4 for Chris Thorman, currently the fastest of the Mazdas currently on track. And just as I say that, Paulo Cui Grant on his final flying lap turns in a lap time of 121.39. And let's take a look here, a 391. And just like that, well, Robert Hartley
he gets into the game.
It.
Yeah, and so Rob Hartley, of course, as we would expect to be one of the quickest ones, and here he's put his Orion team right there at the top of the ST Pro ranks. A couple of things that have happened is Brad Husty now quickest overall in the entire session on his 4th lap, 121.006, taking the pole away from Robert Schwenkler. Now, still a couple other cars yet to go. In fact, Schwenkler's on his 4th flyer, about to cross, probably while I'm talking. Also, you see Eric Violet has finished 1 lap It hasn't got a time in yet, but he's on his second flyer, so he's in the session.
And it looks
And
like
so-
Schwenkler there called off his last flying lap, came to a complete stop just before the finish line. So at this point, he is your second fastest Toyota driver.
The other one to watch for, John Allen, was one of the quickest ones in practice in tonight's pre-race. Has not taken to the track. Now we know. I've seen it before. John Allen typically is one of the last guys to go out. This track is not the longest out lap, not the longest lap to complete. So we'll see if he jumps in to get a lap in before the 15-minute window. Very much like what Eric Violette's doing, very much one of the last ones to go out and try to get the best track conditions. So we'll keep our eyes on those guys. But as of right now, Club Sport AM has the pole with Brad Husty. And take that back. Well, the Club Sport AM for sure. But Rob Hartley is into the 20s in ST Pro in the Mazda at a 20.970.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is huge. And Eugenio Polici, currently 5th fastest overall, but 2nd fastest in ST Pro with a lap time of 121.29. So about 3/10. Just a little bit over 3/10 off of Hartley's times. Polici looking for, I think, a little redemption after the last 2 rounds in the championship. All right, so Larry, let's quickly take a look back 2 weeks ago to round number, I guess it was round number 5 at Alton Park. We're going to start off with the street tuner cars with the Mazda MX-5s, where in the AM category, Jeff Cranston took the win. And he was the only street tuner AM driver on the lead lap. Chuck Labano finished a lap down, as did Robert Brist. They finished 2nd and 3rd, the Frito Sport Racing and RFC Racing drivers. And then Mike Key and Patrick Preventis, both from Frito Sport, finished just off the podium, 4th and 5th. And if we take a look at the championship standings right now, in Street Tuner AM, it is Ray Lombardi, your current points leader with 113 points. And Ray did not start the race 2 weeks ago, but he still finds himself at the top of the leaderboard for Team Esport Racer. Chuck Labano from Frito Sport, 2nd. Then we've got Jeff Cranston from Craney Customs, 3rd in the championship, only 4 points separating Labano and Cranston. And then we've got Steve Daniel and Patrick Preventis running 4th and 5th. If we jump over to Street Tuner Pro, it is, it's the Orion and D2D show up here. 2 weeks ago at Alton Park, Mike Dam taking the win over his teammate Robert Hartley. Margin of victory, 0.15 of a second, with Palakui Grant a half second back from there for D2D. And then Travis Schwenke and Brennan Horan from Orion and D2D, respectively, finishing just off the podium. And if we take a look at the championship standings now in ST Pro, after 5 rounds, it's Mike Dam with 178 points. He's got a 30-point advantage right now over Palakui Grant, who's got 148. Then Brennan Horan, who is 13 points back from there. Greg Mack from Team Esport Racer, and then Chris Thorman. But in the top 5 there, 3 of the top 5 are all from D2D, and 4 of the top 6 from D2D. Let's jump over quickly to the Club Sport classes, and those are our GR86 drivers. In AM, Robert Schwenkler took the win, margin of victory over Joey Rutledge, his The Wrong Stuff racing teammate. Was almost 10 seconds. Leo Dragata from Dragon Sport came in 3rd, with Brad Husty and Mike Taylor from Midfield Motorsports and Frito Sport, respectively, finishing 4th and 5th. And in the championship standings now, it is Joey Rutledge from The Wrong Stuff, your points leader. He's got a 7-point advantage over Midfield Motorsports' Tom Jenkins. Robert Schwenkler from The Wrong Stuff, 3rd in the championship, currently with 115 points. And then Russ Ruddock and Leo Dragata. And those are, you can see the point standings there. And Dragata just 2 points up on Brad Husty in 6th right now, so pretty close running. And then in Pro, Eric Violette took the win, 7.8 seconds over Kevin Ford, the D2D E-Racer. Eric Violette taking the win. Flying Tortoise Motorsports, Kevin Ford finishing in 2nd. Jeff Jacobs from the SCCA Foundation finished another 12 seconds back from there in 3rd. Then Scott Banks from Team Volta and Edgar Sancinelli from Frito Sport finished 4th and 5th. And so Eric Violette, currently your points leader with 183. He's got a 33-point advantage right now over Team Volta's Scott Banks. Tom Rathke, who I believe, if I remember correctly, Rathke and Violette got together in the race 2 weeks ago. And I think Rathke might have had, if I remember right, Rathke had to retire early. Yeah, indeed, and finished 35 laps down. So Rathke retired early. Violet said he did some practicing with Tom. Everything seems to be okay. He's currently third in the championship, but currently 39 points back from Violet. Then we've got Edgar Sanchinelli and Jeff Jacobs, your top 5.
All right, well, if you want, we've got about 1 minute left to qualify, but we have our pre-race interview. I believe Russ Ruddock is standing by if you want to drag him in here.
Already done.
There he is. Russ Ruddock joined us. You got about a minute before we go to the grid, but tell me a little bit of thoughts about tonight's race. What are the strategies, 2 races for you?
Just move as fast as I can, get as close to the front. I've been struggling. I'm at a decent pace, but I've been struggling with qualifying, which puts me in a hole early. And then I seem to keep getting caught up in other people's messes.
Well, looking at qualifying, you might be in that kind of a position again tonight. Not up at the front of your group, but as this thing gets going, we know how this track is, right? It's almost a 1 passing zone or 2 if you force it. If you had a lot of chance to practice in this, do you know if you could make moves in other spots?
Yeah, I did quite a bit of practice with other guys and stuff, so it was pretty good.
Okay. Well, you come into this, you got a couple of podiums this season, but you could really use a pair of podiums here tonight. What do you think are your chances of getting up into podium positions?
I'm hoping so. That's my plan. Try to get on the podium again. I mean, that's what I need to do. Just keep doing that season out.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to let you get off to grid. Good luck. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk to you when it's all over, and if you get onto one of them podiums.
All right. Thanks.
All right, there you go. That was Russ Ruddock, driver of the number 95 Flying Turtles Motorsports Club Sport Am Mazda. And good luck to him. And he's going to have some challenges, Larry. He's currently qualified 8th in Am.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be tough to make up that kind of ground. But, this place, it can be a bit chaotic at times. And with the inverted start for the second race, finishing 5th in the first race gives you a shot to start the second race on the pole. That might be a good opportunity for someone in his position. We'll see how it plays out, though.
All right, indeed. All right, let's do this, Larry, as we've got everybody gridding up, and they're going to be doing a little bit of a dance on the front straight here, Larry, as I believe they're going to have to get the Toyotas and the Mazdas grouped up not together. They're currently all grouped up in mixed order. They're going to try and grid them up by the Toyotas, I believe, in the front, and then the Mazdas in the rear. But let's do this. Let's take a look at the order and what we think it should be.
I can run that down. This will show us the order, at least, of the classes. And now this, again, isn't mixed between pro, or this, it will be mixed between pro and AM within Club Sport and within ST. If you'd like, I can actually read them down, I believe, of what I've got would be the full order of
Do it, Larry.
the Toyotas. We'll start with the Toyotas, and I can tell you on the pole there, it's going to be Eric Violette alongside Brad Husty on the outside of row 1. Row 2 in the Toyota is going to be Robert Schwenkler and Tom Rathke, pro and an AM also in that row. Third row, Tom Jenkins and Joey Rutledge will be paired up out of the AM category. The fourth row, Leo Dragota alongside Scott Banks. On the fifth row, it's going to be Bobby Childs in the pro again, and Jeff Jacobs also in the pro class. Next row, Edgar Sanchinelli in the pro again, Ken Ladd from the AM class. Following row is going to be, we just talked to him, Russ Ruddock. He'll be lined up with Paul Carey. On the row following, John Casey and Rodney Carey. And the last row is going to have Marlon Jones. They're in the Toyotas, which will be the first class to see the green.
All right, so let's move over now to the Mazdas, and we'll see if we can pick them up. Lee might need you to throw that graphic up.
I can go through those if you'd like.
Larry, you have those as well?
I
do
do.
It.
So on the pole for the Mazdas, Robert Hartley from Orion Racing. He's going to be lined up alongside Eugenio Polici on the outside of row 1. Second row is going to be Jordy Fike. Haven't seen that name for a while. He'll be lined up alongside Polikui Grant on row 2. Row 3, Chris Thorman from D2D alongside teammate David Payton. On row 5, Ken Copeland and Brennan Horan. On that 5th row, 6th row, Greg Mack and Jeff Cranston. 7th row, Eduardo Lorente and Patrick Prevenis. On the 8th row in the Mazda is Chuck Labano and Mike Key. And I see John Allen as the lone car in the 10th row, but he did not take a lap in qualifying, and I don't see him in the session, so we may not be seeing an Allen. So just 9 rows deep in the Mazdas tonight.
Very interesting here. So we've got the pace car leading the Toyotas now through the carousel, through turns 6 and into turn 7, and then our second pack with the Mazda MX-5s, the street tuner classes, are essentially our pole sitter Robert Hartley is the pace car for that field. They're going to try and keep a gap, which Larry, given how close the lap times were, and we say this almost every single outing for the Touring Car Cup, given how close the lap times are, it would behoove them to keep a good distance. Now, as the pace car is on the pit lane, we've got Eric Violette there on the front row with Brad Husty directly beside drivers left. The second row, as you mentioned, Schwenkler and Rathke, as they are waiting for the live starter. And there we go. Green flag is now in the air, and we are racing at Summit Point here for the Club Sport class. The GR86 and getting a great start now is Eric Violette. He's going to move right across the front of Robert Schwenkler, Brad Husty, Tom Rathke, and Rathke making a great move down the inside here as Schwenkler has to try and hold him off. Then we've got Rutledge, Scott Banks, Tom Jenkins as they make the run out of turn number 2, still in many cases 2x2, but already Eric Violette with about a 3-car length advantage over the wrong stuffs of Robert Schwenkler, and Rathke now sitting back in 5th position. Edgar Sancinelli, there he is in that yellow number 57 machine. He is currently sitting in 12th as the MX-5s. The Street Tuners now get the green flag, and they're going to make the run down to turn 1 with Robert Hartley on the inside, Eugenio Polici on the outside. Great start from the inside for Jordy Fike, who for a moment there had a nose up on Polici, but he's down the inside. He should have an advantage with a much shorter run down to turn number 3, but Polici, as the track is going to move back to the left going into turn 3, Polici will have the inside line, and he has a great run taking that straight line, Larry, that we talked about during the track guide. Coming into turn number 3, gets right around Jordy Fike, and they now get in line as our leaders in the Toyotas coming out of turn 10 for the very first time, completing the first lap here on what will likely be about for a 30-minute race, probably around 13-14 laps, I would think.
So a great start there for both our pole sitters, and both the Mazdas and the Toyotas able to get a nice clean getaway and use full track to get through turn 1. Before they all got on turn 3, they were all sorted out. Behind them, a little bit more time to sort things out. And here in the case of the Toyotas, it's not sorted out yet, as we got Leo Jagoda with Bobby Childs right behind. And I believe that might be Tom Jenkins there right between us. Bobby runs wide in the beach there at 3. And Jeff Jacobs looks like he's going to tuck up on the inside there of Bobby as well, take advantage of that, and he does. So it's a little bit of chaos here still. Now as the Mazdas get to do the same thing, the front 4 have it sorted out. Hartley's got himself an advantage, just like we saw Violet in the Toyotas a moment ago. Pole sitter got a good clean getaway. But behind, it's chaotic, and there it is. You've got Ken Copeland right alongside that 60 of I believe that is Chris Thorman.
Thorman, yeah.
Yeah, and Thorman's teammate Peyton right there alongside him, and the other teammate, Brandon Horn. So you got 3 of the D2Ds chasing down Copeland, who's trying to get on through here through turn 3, but he's going to have a whole flood of G2Ds right there in his mirror on both sides, it looks like, as Thorman might want to shove it down the inside of 4 into 5. We'll see if he takes the preferred line and stays down track middle here into 5. He goes track right, left to left open.
Yeah, you kind of left the door open there, and we saw David Payton in the green 64 machine take a poke to the inside. He was not quite close enough, but yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about during the track guide, Larry. If you stay all the way driver's right, you're opening up about 2 car widths to come right underneath you going into turn 5, and you can carry a lot more speed through that chute if you let the car track out to driver's left instead of keeping it tight.
This is what the middle of the pack here in the Toyota is now starting to look like, with John Casey there in the middle of this battle with Russ Reddick. I think it's Marlon Jones out in front of them, as Sancinelli now is coming down here in the Frito Sport machine, and he's got, it looks like Bobby Childs right behind him now as they go down there through turn 5. But a couple of battles all over the place. In this case, Edgar's going to catch up to Ken Ladd right there in front of him but he's got a little bit of gap. This is a tough place to get past in some of these spots, especially down here through these S's. It's really difficult to make a pass. The best you can do is to maybe get alongside somebody. But out at the front, Policio now finally has closed that gap on our leader, Hartley, and these two might have a bit of a breakaway going, depending on what happens down behind them, as Pelicui Grant down there with Jordy Fike, see if they continue to poke around or if they work well together to stay in line with the rest of the Mazdas at the front.
And you saw there where Polici had to just stand on the binders to keep from going into the back of Robert Hartley, as Hartley tried to bring that car over and around from driver's right, as Polici just carried a lot more speed down through the chute and into the entry for turn number 5. Larry, with the very long straightaway here, you find it's kind of difficult, not Road America difficult to break away, but as long as you can keep somewhat close coming here out of turn 10, and if you can carry more speed through what is a very high-speed corner, you should be able to draft back up. Now, what we saw at the end,
definitely a draft. Here it is. This is it. This is the draft on display. You just got to remember your braking points about 10 feet earlier when you do this than it would be normally.
Yeah, and certainly as you're all the way down to the inside, you're going and you are, certainly compromising your entry. And we saw there where Polici was maybe a half a car width further to driver's right than he needed to be. He could have maybe opened up the corner a little bit, but at this point, not important. He has now taken the lead, and he has now put Robert Hartley back into second in Street Tuner as they come down the hill. And
look at this, Grant pushing in the back of Jordy Fike here as we're back under the Mazdas to try and make sure he stays close coming out of 3, as what was our leader in Hartley now behind, of course, with that draft pass that went on for your new leader there, Polici. But behind them, it looks like at least the Pelicui Grant wants to stay in line, wants to continue to push, doesn't want to get out of line to lose track of the top 2. Whereas here in the Toyotas, this looks like all kinds of battle going on here with Rathke in the 41 leading this train. But if you look behind him, it's Scott Banks, Joey Rutledge, Leo Dragoda, all of them right there in line. Tom Jenkins at the back of this. These guys have already lost pace with Violet, Schwenkler, and Husty out in front of them because they start doing this fighting, and that's the nature of this.
Exactly, and there are just so many opportunities here. One, to use the draft, but 2, to lose a ton of time by battling and going side by side through some of these corners. As we watch now, as we've got Russ Ruddick, and I believe that was Marlon Jones directly behind.
Well, Ruddick was saying in that pre-race that he thought maybe he'd have to make up some ground. He felt confident, at least in the race pace, maybe not so much on his quality pace. But here he's showing that race pace. He's able to make some moves and get on by through traffic. So it's a good job there for Russ Ruddick. We'll see how close he gets to a podium. As we flash back to our Mazda race, no change since the last time we saw them. Still Polici at the front, just ahead of Hartley. But now they are a 5-car train. I'll tell you, that 5th car now, that's number 15 in that crowd trying to make his way through. That's Ken Copeland now caught up to this group. He wants to get by Pelicui Grant. Grant was trying to play nice with Jordy Fike in front. But I tell you, if Copeland doesn't play nice, it could spell trouble for Grant.
Yeah, I was going to say it could spell trouble for Grant, and it might also then bring that next pack made up of Thorman, Payton, Brennan Horn, and I think Jeff Cranston is in that field as well. It would bring them all along, as we've got a number of cars off. This is,
we were just talking about him.
Yeah.
It's Russ Ruddick.
And this is over at turns 1 and 2 as Ruddick and Marlon Jones now off in the grass there and trying to rejoin, and they are going to certainly lose the scent of Rodney Carey and Paul Carey up ahead.
Eric Violet, who went to the pole, remember we watched in qualifying, he waited to the last minute, got his time in. It was a pretty solid time down there in the 20.9 range. Schwenkler in the AM category is all over him right now, pressuring all he can do. And Brad Husty, again, Husty's also in the AM. So what you got here is a pro category leader who wants to obviously win the overall race, but he's got 2 competitors that are in their own race behind him. This is going to be interesting to see, because if Violet lifts to let these guys play through, Violet's just going to have to deal with Rathke and Banks, who are behind him. So it's in Eric's best interest to just keep pushing. Now, we also know from Eric's past, he does a lot of fuel saves, tire saves. It's a 30-minute sprint. There's nothing to save with this car. But that means he's pushing, and these guys behind him are doing the same. all three of these cars are pushing for all it's worth to try and pull away from Rafke and Banks. Not easy. There's the evidence to push right there. Where Schwenkler goes side to side coming out of 3 from sand all the way to the grass.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough there, Larry, when you come out of 3.
Yeah.
And I think most of us that have raced the real point, know that if you go through turn 3 and you end up in the gravel, you just kind of straighten the wheel up and the track comes back to you. It looked like he dialed in a little bit of correction, and it came inches away from biting him as he had the left tires right on the edge of the track. And we've got more drivers together, and this looks like
D2D violence. That's never good. It's Chris Thorman. And it was probably Peyton, his teammate, or it could have been Brennan Horn. We know that all three of them were together for a minute.
I think that was Thorman.
Well, I can tell you, Brennan Horn's sitting up there just fine, like nothing happened. So sometimes the cat looks guilty. We'll have to see, perhaps who was the at fault there. But for right now, it's Hartley loses it coming out of 5.
As the number 3 machine goes around coming out of turn number 5, and he is now backing up against the wall. It's real difficult there to see cars coming around the corner. He's got to just trust his relative screen there. But that is a huge change in Street Tuner.
That is absolutely huge. What was your pole sitter now 10 spots back or so? That's going to be huge in that order. Don't think the rest of the field had to check up, so they might have gotten through unscathed. But as we flash back here into this good battle in the Toyotas, you got Jeff Jacobs, SDK Foundation, chasing Sanchinelli and Ladd right there in front of him. Now, these guys are in different classes. You got Jacobs and Sanchinelli out of the Pro, Ladd out of the AM, leading this trio. But as we've seen this season, the AMs have been quick up and down. So it's almost not even an indicator now of who's the faster one, because we've got some pretty serious AM drivers in this field on both the club sport as well as the tuner side. So both Mazdas and Toyotas, fast drivers everywhere. We'll see if Sanchinelli can get a run on Ladd. Ladd got a pretty good run out of the S's there. We'll see what run he gets off.
And the key, Larry, is to be able to continue to feed throttle. And from the moment you turn in at turn 6 and you go into the carousel, we essentially call it the longest straight at Summit Point. And we'll see here, just as we now have side by side, this is Leo Dragata in the 118 machine, and Joey Rutledge directly beside, and Rutledge now gets around the 118, and we go back to that battle, and there you go. Ladd able to hold off Sanchinelli as they come down into 1.
He got that good run off of 10. That dictates your speed all the way down that front straightaway. Did a good job there. As we flash back to Ramazes, this is the story now. As Polici is now leading the way with Rob Hartley having spun and moved himself down the order. So Polici now with a couple of car lengths on that second place battle. That is Jordy Fike. That is
Palakui
Grant. Yep. As more issues down in turn 1. This time it's John Casey from the Frito Sport entry. So many issues seem to be down there at 1. Either it's a braking thing or they're hitting that curb. And now all it's going to do is bring all of them into the lead pack of the Mazdas. And that's what you're seeing there as Eugenio Polici now right there on the back of Marlon Jones, the 25 Club Sport entry right there in front of him. He's going to have to yield because that Mazda group wants through.
Yeah, and Larry, I think, and not having seen the replay there, but I can certainly see where the curbing at turn 1 is one of the taller curbs here. Yeah. Also, turn 4 coming down through the chute. And given how we know that the GR86s deal with curbing or don't deal well with high curbing, is they have some extreme weight transfer. I can see where that might have affected Casey.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening up and down. Oh, we got a replay of it as well. We'll keep an eye on Casey. He will be the first car through.
And he's got, I think that's one of the Dragata machines directly behind.
Oh, that's a lot of curb, just like you're saying.
Yes, it was.
Yep, you hit that curb, and these things already transfer a lot of weight, and that doesn't help your cause when you go full bicycle. Luckily, he kept it on its wheels eventually. But I tell you what, it's still a heated battle here as Ladd now still has Sanchinelli behind him, trying to find a way past. And as you said, this place is tough to pass if you know how to defend. Ladd's doing a great job of getting out of the S's, doing a great job of getting off a 10. It almost doesn't matter what he does anywhere else, does it?
No, exactly. If you're not at this point up alongside the car where you could maybe squeeze in underneath, going through 6 and fight a car side by side, then coming into turn 8, you're essentially gonna have to wait until you get down to turn 1. Yeah. Your key passing opportunities here are turn 1, going into turn 3, and then coming out of the chute. going down here into turn 5.
All right, well, let's see behind this Mazda battle for a minute, because Palikui Grant has been a bit of a struggle. But here we got a potential pass for lead as Violet's getting pressured by Schwenkler. Violet able to hang on to it. These guys are going to keep pressuring Violet to get out of their way. And it's going to be an opportunity possibly for Rathke to get alongside Schwenkler. This is your battle in AM.
That's right. Here we go.
Rathke actually in the pro, the Schwenkler leader.
And Rathke loses the car at turn-in. Going into turn 3, he's going to gather it back up, but he's going to lose a number of positions now. Rathke, who had the fastest lap of the race, is now sitting back in 6th position overall, and you'd see he's still trying to get up to speed as he's got that battle with battle directly behind him with Dragata and Jenkins.
Yeah, I tell you what, that looked a lot like what we see in these Toyotas kind of struggling here at turn 1. Looked like the same thing, that super tall curve at the apex of 3 caught him off guard, popped the car up. Luckily, he kept it off of contact, but definitely lost all the track position. In this battle, though, Polici now under pressure from Fike, and I'll tell you, the guy in this group that's been the aggressor has been Copland, whereas he's in the M category, fighting it up here with these pro category guys. But I can tell you, he's right there in the mix. The only one thing that hasn't really changed is Polici's been controlling this ever since we had that spin earlier from Rob Hartley. But it's been the battle there between Copland and Grant. Grant just can't quite handle that pressure as we approach the halfway point of this first sprint.
All right, so Robert Schwenkler now, who is your leader in AM, side by side with Eric Violet, our street tuner, our club sport pole sitter tonight, and taking over the lead, at least for the moment, is Robert Schwenkler, as he runs wide coming out of 3 and opens the door up for Robert Hartley to come down through the chute. He's going to retake the lead now.
Yeah, so awfully close there as these guys, as Husty, just kind of hanging back watching this, trying to decide what he's going to do. Looking for opportunity now to try to go to the inside and get side by side with Schwenkler. That would be for the lead in AM. Not enough to make a move. Might have actually slowed them both down. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. Violet able to hold off the overall race lead. Probably wasn't even trying. It looked like perhaps he was okay with Schwenkler taking the lead, but not once he touched the sand trap coming out of 3. So they've all separated. Things have settled. We'll see what happens there on the subsequent laps, but it's still like nothing happened, right? As Violet leading Schwenkler. Husty, as we go back to our Mazdapede here, front 4 unchanged from the past lap, but the battle waging behind them is starting to catch them.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier with Rutledge. At the time, it was Rutledge and Dragata. Now Tom Rathke he has recovered, and Rathke is part of that second pack as well. We'll see if they can get back up to our leaders as we're watching now our top 4 drivers here in Parby Street Tuner with Polici, with Fike, Copeland, and Grant, who continue now to open up a bit of an advantage over Brennan Horn and Jeffrey Cranston.
Well, I'm looking at Grant's car. Look at the nose of it, and I tell you, this is not the first race we have seen some crumpling on the front of the Mazda of Grant. He tends to use, I don't want to call it a chrome horn because it's probably more bump drafting than anything else.
Yeah.
But he does it a lot. And you can see here as they go 2 wide, as Fike looks like he's going to take the lead now from Polici. Copeland going to try and hang on to 3rd ahead of Grant. Grant not able to go any further, but we have a new leader in the Mazdas. It's Jordy Fike.
And so, Larry, I've noticed the last couple of laps where Polici was maybe going a little deep as he was trying to defend against Jordy Fike, and that time it finally bit him as the 09 car moves into the lead. We'll see how Polici does.
My opinion on that is when you're in these kind of Mazdas and you get about halfway down the front straight, oh, wow, that's a whole lot of violence. That's 2 of our leaders taken out. Was that Polici running into the back of Fike, and Fike might have damage?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it was. And as Polici came back across the track, almost took out a few more cars, and there is Eugenio Polici. Wow. I think he realizes as he went into the grass. We'll see if that car can get back up to speed. Obviously, he's lost a lot of positions now. That is going to move Palikui Grant into the lead. Yeah. And yeah, let's see if we can make sense of this, Larry. And see what
let's catch this replay here as they come around through 4 and watch the 2nd place battle and look at the 3rd place. Yes, it's actually Copeland that starts this. by hitting into the back of Polici, and then Copeland's out of this race by doing the off into the abyss that Summit provides. But it was Copeland that started that. A little too aggressive coming out of 4, hits the back of Polici, who taps into the back of what was Jordy Fike race leader, leaving Grant all by himself. With Brennan Horan elevated to second place.
So the two D2D racers now running 1-2
and
with Jeff Cranston.
Yes, leading the AM now with Copeland, who I'm not sure if he was AM or pro, but Copeland now out of the race. Cranston is your AM leader.
Yeah, Copeland was pro.
Okay. So Cranston is up there third overall, as again Schwenkler going to try and make the move on Violet. This is what we had seen. He's got it handily. We'll see if he can get through turn 3 without any issues there. It's the battle behind them. So now you got a AM Pro, AM Pro, AM Pro are the front 6 here in the Toyotas.
So everybody wants to jump ahead one position, with the exception of maybe Eric Violet.
He's probably just fine with Schwenkler leading the race.
Right.
Sure, it's an ego thing to win the overall, but I can tell you the only one that probably doesn't want to change positions right now might be Rutledge, because remember, second race, we're going to invert the order.
Invert
top
the field.
5, right? So it'll be the top 5 Toyotas, and I believe the top 5 Mazdas should each invert.
Correct.
So the spot you want to be in is that 5th spot. Right now in the Toyotas, that is handled by Joey Rutledge, one of our AM class competitors. He's currently 3rd in AM, but 5th overall. That would put him on that invert flip seat. And on the outside, looking in right now, is Tom Rathke. He's a pro category driver. He would love to get that spot back. There's Rutledge, and the gap between he and Rathke is about 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
Rutledge perfectly fine with whatever the chaos is in front or behind. He's just going to sit here for 10 minutes and try to hang on to that spot.
That's it. So 10 minutes remaining in our first of 2 30-minute races tonight. Robert Schwenkler, your leader in Club Sport and the Club Sport AM. And with Brad Husty running in 2nd, Joey Rutledge running 3rd in Club Sport Pro, Eric Violet, Scott Banks, and Tom Rathke, your top 3. And if we take a look at Street Tuner Pro, it's Paulo Cui, Grant, and Brennan Horan with Jordy Fike in 3rd. And then in Street Tuner AM, Jeff Cranston is your leader, Chuck Lobano 2nd, and Eduardo Lorente currently running in 3rd.
We'll keep our eye on this little train and to see what kind of pressure now I suspect Husty might want to put on Violet. We'll see what kind of defense that Violet puts up there as we're on board with Scott Banks, currently 4th in this train of 4, looking at the back of the 137 of Brad Husty as they catch up to the 29 of the Mazdas. That's Patrick Preventis out there in front of them. Now, the other battle we're going to have to catch on is the Mazdas, because Brennan Horn has caught the back of Pauly Cui Grant, as they are just a couple tenths apart as well. And there they are coming
out of turn 2.
Yep. This could be interesting. Teammates, nose to tail, Team Grant and Brennan Horan. And Horan having a pretty solid race here. Didn't have the best qualifying, but with all the chaos that's happened and his pace combined, has put him in a pretty good position here right now, 2nd behind just a teammate, with Jeff Cranston sitting there, the AM leader, in 3rd overall.
Yeah, and interestingly enough here, Larry, in talking to Eric Violet prior to the race, one of the things that he had noted that he had seen in practice was, as Violet retakes the lead in Club Sport, is that whereas entry speed in most of the corners was a little bit quicker for the Toyotas, the Mazdas were able to dig out just that much better, and I think that it probably again has to do with that extreme weight transfer, and this is actually something that we've now seen 2 laps in or a couple laps in a row going into turn 1. Is that the driver that enters turn 1 in the Toyotas from the outside, from driver's left, if they're going into the corner side by side, will usually get the better run out because they're putting a lot less load on the car. And the driver to the inside, as he's got to uncrank the wheel, and as the car gets rolls over and has all that weight transfer, just can't seem to dig out very well.
Yeah, you've got to be real tactically smart about when you make that move to you're on the inside braking going into 1, is to force the outside driver to slow down by unwinding your hands early. Don't give them that outside line. Take that outside line because you want to block going into 3, which is what Hartley is doing here with, I believe that's Greg Mack there in at number 2. As Cranston now your leader in the Mazda is going around the 33 of Carey. But yeah, I think that's what you want to do is if you're on that inside, you've got to really make sure you claim that corner as early as possible around that turn one. But I tell you the other thing, but the differences between these cars, they do transfer weight differently. It is easier to brake and to turn in with the Mazdas than it is the Toyotas. And there's a gearing difference as well. And around some of these corners, like turn 1, 2, which is basically a hairpin, and even around 5, which is again more of like a hairpin, these drivers and these gearing can be better. And that, by the way, that was the 137 of Brad Husty. He was third in this race. He just went off the outside of 5.
And it's a long way. It doesn't look like a big distance, but it is very difficult to rejoin there from the grass, as we can see. Is Husty
to find a spot now?
Yeah, and we'll see if he's going to try and rejoin from over here, or well, we don't know.
It's
but
unfortunate for
he's
Husty,
now dropped back.
Yeah, he was
sixth.
He was second in hand, right nose to tail in the train of the lead. Now that train is 3 cars. We'll call it maybe a 4th. We throw in Rutledge. It's Violet, Schwenkler, Banks, and Rutledge. Now down to 4 in that train. As Schwenkler's going to try and catch a bit of a draft off of the 98 of Mike Key in the Mazda. And to try and also make the pass, not going to be able to. Let's see what Violet does about claiming that outside position corner exit.
Yeah.
And he does unwind his hands just a little bit to make sure that if Schwenkler's going to go, he stays on his right, because I do not want to be on the outside at 3.
No.
That's
no.
That's
You want to be
land.
able to own the corner. If you have the opportunity to move somebody down to the inside going into turn 3, it becomes a very difficult left-hand turn. But at this point, I think Violet's more interested in being able to carry speed through that corner, and wasn't really interested in. Tell you what, let's take a look, Larry. I think we've got queued up. Let's see what happened to Brad Husty as he came down here through the chute down towards turn 5.
There he is, just in front of the 7 of Banks, and he just brakes real late.
And
squeaks right between Schwenkler and the inside and gets out of there. Luckily, doesn't disrupt too badly, Schwenkler. That's really good for the rest of the field. Unfortunately for
Brad Husty, not so much.
Yeah, Husty, that's a rough
Husty had the right idea. He carried a ton of speed down through the chute, but just no way he was going to get that car woed down in time.
Yeah, well, as we've got we'll call it 4 minutes to go, probably 3-ish laps. As here's our overall lead pack. This is still Violet, Schwenkler, Banks, and Rutledge, your front 4. 2 out of those 4 are teammates. We'll have to keep an eye and see if that makes a difference. Those 2 are Schwenkler and Rutledge, both teammates in the wrong stuff and sitting 1-2 in the AM category. But they've got right now Banks between them. We'll see if they want to try and dispose of Banks before taking a run at Violet. So I think it's going to be important here team-wise for Rutledge to try and get around Banks to help his teammate, maybe even push his teammate past Violet.
Sure, and of course Banks there sitting in third. The one thing he wants to be able to do is to get up to Violet.
Yeah.
If Schwenkler could find a way by the 89 machine, that would put Banks in the perfect position.
Yep. And so here's Jenkins, where he's right now 3rd in the AM category, just running behind Rafke, who's 3rd in the Pro category. So keeping an eye on this little battle again. This is for position on the track and, more importantly, position at the flip, as Rafke currently is in that nice perfect spot of being 5th. We'd be on pole for the second race if we were to start right now. And I'm sure Mr. Tom Jenkins, there you can see his profile photo, would love to be on the pole for race number 2 in his Midfield Motorsports GR86.
Hey, Larry, Rich Dibdall's in the chat. Wants to know what happened to Bobby Childs.
We now know Bobby, he's flashing his lights. He's probably listening to us as he's on the back of the 57 of Santinelli in the Frito Sport entry. Bobby is not quite where he was early. Bobby now going for aggro there at 10, but keeps his foot in it. He might have a chance down the front straight. Currently battling for 6th and 5th here in this Pro category.
Yeah, carried a good amount of speed there. For most people, that would have meant in real life ending up in the pit wall, driver's right. But,
that's no man's land, though. Randy Popes would be very upset to find out that Bobby took that line into that corner.
That's right.
Edgar nice enough to give him some space, though.
That's right.
Always good to drop Randy's name. The Vortex, come on.
The Vortex. Yeah, I'm not going to call it what I want to call it.
It's just Google it. You can find it out. But Bobby here in a pretty solid battle. Again, this is for 5th. Santinelli currently holds it. Bobby going to go side by side through 4. He is really getting aggressive. He wants this spot. His teammates are out in front of him, and there they are, right on cue. Thanks, Lee. As you've got the leaders overall in the race in the Mazdas. You've got Brennan Horan and Polycui Grant leading the way. And with these guys, we are at 28 and a half minutes, a minute and a half until the clock strikes midnight on this first race. And what's going to matter is where the leaders, Violet and Schwenkler, are in the Toyotas, as they are the overall race lead. This, though, is the battle of John Casey. We'll get back to that in a minute, because here is the battle overall with a minute and 20 across. And this could be one lap to go.
Here we
following.
go. Banks is trying to go around the outside of Schwenkler. It's going to stick him in the center of the track, and I think Banks realized that he had that slower car directly in front of him.
Paul Carey, that is the slower car, trying to just get out of the way. These guys, I think, are not quite on a white flag. If I got that right, they're going to get one more.
One more.
Yeah, so this is not the fight to the death unless we didn't catch it. But I think they're going to have about maybe 5 or 10 seconds left when they cross, start, finish one more time. It's going to be close. But for Violet, what matters now is getting that run off of turn 10. The rest of this, to me, doesn't mean diddly-doo-doo. What matters is how do you come off of 10 and hold your lead going into 1.
Yeah, and and again, Team Volta's Scott Banks. This is do or die for him if he's going to take the win in pro, as he is sitting right between the two AM category drivers from the wrong stuff here as they now come down in the 10.
Yep, so here we go. It looks like we are going to get that one extra lap. It's going to be awfully close. We're about 10 seconds away from it. And that is the white flag in the air.
Yep, there you go. White flag. One more lap here as they cross the stripe with about 3 seconds left on the clock. And our leaders in Club Sport, they are coming up right onto the back of the 64 of Peyton.
And I see that incident review. We'll worry about that in a minute. I know who those two cars are, because what I see here is a side-by-side of Schwenkler and Banks. Banks trying, not able to do anything. All he did was pressure Schwenkler. This is good for Violet. You can see the gap as we're riding along the back of Eric Violet right now. He's got a couple car lengths. That's good for him. But what it means is that Banks is really pressuring Schwenkler now. Banks second in pro, wants to make sure he stays there, which right now, not really much threat there. Rafke's about 5 seconds back, but he'd love to be second overall in this. But to be honest,
and this is a little interesting, Larry, is David Payton, D2D teammate of Eric Violet. I would have thought that Payton would have let the 89 machine through, and it's not going to be until they come out of turn 8 that it happens.
Well, yeah, this will be really interesting. I'm also thinking, like, if you are Banks, for example, why not just stay in that position? You're probably not going to get the win anyway, and you'll start the second race that much higher in the order. But hey, what do I know? As it does look like Violet might have enough to hang on to this. The order might remain the same as Checker is out. Eric Violet's going to take this first win in race 1.
That's right. Violet takes the win in Club Sport Pro. Robert Schwenkler will win in Club Sport AM, with Banks and Rutledge second in Pro and AM respectively. Tom Rathke works his way back up to third in Pro, with Tom Jenkins third in AM. Let's take a look now. This is the battle for the lead in Street Tuner.
You know what I like the most is D2D has this wonderful paint scheme where they even put the graphic of damaged front end on all of their Mazdas. As both Brennan Horn and Polycui Grant have matching dimpled front noses. As come off of one more corner,
cute.
We'll see if Polycui Grant can hang on to this winner. If Brennan can get a better run. It's the D2D together. Who's going to get the run to the stripe? Could be close.
And Grant moves all the way driver's right to break the draft, and he's going to take the win in in Street Tuner Pro. Brennan Horn's going to finish second.
And Jeffrey
Cranston finishes as your winner in AM.
Great
And
job there.
as we've got the rest of the field now coming out of turn number 10.
We got a shot here of a couple of the guys that were in the fight to win it earlier. That unfortunate incident causing them that race. So this would be Jordy Fike. I think. Oh, there goes. As Palucci went for a fly.
Just launched himself back to Italy.
Yes.
With Palucci just took the express from Dulles Airport. Yeah.
Eduardo Lorente there, just finishing that race. So, yeah, fascinating race. This inverted order of these two classes is going to be a whole lot of fun in race 2. Awesome job there for Schwenkler to stay and pressure the overall pro category leader. For Schwenkler taking the win in AM in our club sports. Great race for him. Good job to get the win. And I'll tell you, for Polycui Grant to stay clean and to stay aggressive and hang on to that win with a great race. Brennan Horner might have been one of the best drives of that first race to get up there to second overall. Great results for us for Heat 1.
All right, and here you go. Let's run down the results quickly, and then we're going to take a quick break. In Street Tuner Pro, Paulo Hui Grant with Brennan Horn and Jordy Fike, your top three. Robert Hartley, who is your pole sitter, works his way back up into fourth. And in Street Tuner Am, a little bit smaller field, Jeff Cranston, we saw take the win. Chuck Lobano, Eduardo Lorente, your top three. And if we jump back over to Club Sport, to the Toyotas, Eric Violet, Scott Banks, Tom Rathke, your top three in Pro. And finally, in Club Sport Am, Robert Schwenkler, Joey Rutledge, and Tom Jenkins, your podium finishers for race one. But we are going to be we're going to come back in just a few moments with our second 30-minute sprint race of the evening. We're going to be inverting the top 5 Toyotas, the top 5 Mazdas when we come back from our break. You are watching rounds number 6 and 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll be right back.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to Summit Point Raceway and the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup. It's round 6 and 7, season number 23 in Larry. I think it's the 9th year for the Touring Car Cup here. And as we are coming back with coverage here, our drivers, they've got about 3.5 minutes to do a little bit of warm up before the next race, Larry. And we were just discussing that Robert Hartley, who was our pole sitter for race 1 in the Mazdas, in the Street Tuners, he had that off over at turn 5, but he worked his way right back to where he needed to be.
Perfect place to work to. He got all the way to 5th, which means he will start the second race on the pole in the Mazdas, which is where he started the first race on his true merit. This time he does it because he knew where 5th place was and he made sure he got there before the checkered flag flew. So this will be interesting. He is going to be leading that charge. We'll see if Paulo Hui Grant, Brennan Horn, who won 2 in the first race, can stay on pace with him. But it's a good second opportunity here. Way to recover here for Rob Hartley. Also to mention is over in the Club Sport, we were watching for a little while the battle of the 57 of Edgar Sancinelli and the 88 of Bobby Childs, and how good a race that was being. But we knew Bobby was being pretty aggressive. Well, at some point there might have been a coming together, and a penalty was awarded to Bobby. Unfortunately for Stubby and all of Bobby's fans, it's a 30-second post-race penalty issued to Bobby Childs. So, but as Stubby says, on the optimistic side, at least he finished. And so Bobby will still start in the same spot. He did finish the first race. Bobby, always a fan favorite here in the Ricmotech series.
All right, so there we go. The warm-up session has finished. Larry, we're going to see our drivers come back onto the grid here, and then we're going to do the little grid dance again. As the Toyotas and the Mazdas, well, you know, they're like petulant little children. They need to be separated.
Yeah. So, well, and what I'm seeing here on the Sims own qualifying for the second, or the grid order here for the second race, it took just the finish order of the first race, but I know we'll be doing a manual inversion. So again, I do believe I know what the right order is of what they're eventually going to shuffle to. So let me run down that. Let's start with our GR86 Club Sport class. On the pole for the second race, finishing 5th in the first race, should be Tom Rathke. He'll be lined up alongside Joey Rutledge, one of the Wrong Stuff Racing. He was second in the first race in the AM category. He'll start this race second on the outside of row 1. Scott Banks will be on the inside of row 2. He'll be lined up alongside your race 1 AM winner, Robert Schwenkler from the Wrong Stuff. That'll be your row 2. On row 3 on the inside, race 1 winner, Eric Violette. He'll be lined up alongside Tom Jenkins from the AM category. On the 4th row, Leo Jagoda is going to be alongside Ken Ladd. On the 5th row, it'll be Jeff Jacobs and Brad Husty lined up together. And then on the 6th row, you've got Bobby Childs and Rodney Carey lined up together. Then you've got behind them John Casey and Russ Ruddock, followed by Paul Carey, Marlon Jones, and last but not least, Edgar Sanchinelli here in race number 2 in the Club Sport GR86s. And if we head over to our Mazdas, in our Street Tuner category, on the pole, as we mentioned already, he was 5th in the first race, started the first race in the pole. Robert Hartley from Orion Racing on the pole for race 2, lined up alongside Jordy Fike. He'll be looking for some redemption there as well, as he had his own issues there with the sliding, spinning cars, taking a few folks out. That'll be your row 1. Row 2 is going to be Jeff Cranston, your AM category winner of race 1, alongside Brennan Horan. Your race 1 winner, Polly Cui Grant, is going to start this race 5th on the inside of row 3, alongside Greg Mack. On row 4, it's going to be Chris Thorman and Chuck Labano. Row 5, Eduardo Lorente and Eugenio Polici, who was running so strong in that first race. We'll keep our eyes on him here as he makes his way through the field in the second race. On row 7, I believe, is David Payton and Mike Key. Behind them is going to be Patrick Preventis and Ken Copeland. And they should be on row 8 or 9. I've already lost count, but they will be rowed up together here on race number 2. Is rowed up a term?
No.
My English is leaving me.
That's all right. That's all right, Larry. As much as you would like to deny it, we're both getting old. All right.
But here in the second race, this is going to be interesting. We've got a lot of folks a bit out of position. I'll be looking for here in the GR86s. I want to keep your eye on Eric Violette and Schwenkler to see if they can get to the front. We know how difficult it was to pass in this field. But over in the Mazdas, really going to be watching down there for Eugenio Polici, starting down there in 8th or 9th. He's got some work to do. Can he catch Hartley and Fike, who start this race on the second race on the front row after both having issues in the first race? This could be interesting in both categories.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Of course, Rathke is going to be looking for a little bit of redemption after having his issues a little in the first race, and he is going to bring the field now through turn 10 and onto the front straight. The pace car now already on the pit lane, and that turns the field over. We've got the 2 Wrong Stuff drivers on the outside lane, Rutledge and Schwenkler, and Rathke. He's got Scott Banks directly behind him as we've got the green flag in the air, and we are underway here at Summit Point Racing for round number 7, the second race of the night here in the Ricmotech Touring Car Cup.
A great start for Rutledge.
Rutledge, great start for him from the outside. We'll see if he can hold on, and if he can pinch Rathke down on the entry there to turn number 2, he might have an opportunity there coming out and making the run down the short chute in the 3.
And he has. Look at that. He's able to hold that inside going down to 3. That should give him the advantage. And behind him, his teammate's going to try and hold as well. They're going to slot into 3rd as we jump to our Mazda start. And again, Hartley on the pole has got the same way he started the first race.
No difference.
Nose ahead. Although I don't think he can chop over in front of Fike this time. He's going to have to break right down center of track and hold his line. I'm watching Horan and Polycui Grant. Can they make any moves? Fike, though, a good exit of 1 is going to get him that second spot over Cranston. And Cranston's going to hold on to 3rd, it looks like, as they head down to 3.
And you could see Fike's car just dancing under the braking going down into turn 1 from the outside there as he was just on the limit. A little bit further back, we're watching Eugenio Polici, who's starting very far back in the Mazda field. I think right around 9th position is where he stands right now. As the Toyotas are coming out of turn 10 to complete lap number 1, it's Joey Rutledge, your leader currently, with Tom Rathke, Robert Schwenkler running in 3rd with Scotty Banks, Ken Ladd, Eric Violette, who lost a position to Ladd, I think, there on the start. And now challenging going down into turn 1 is Joey Rutledge, side by side with Tom Rathke. Or pardon me, Rathke challenging Joey Rutledge. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Rathke now jumps to the lead.
Rathke with just a little bit of a draft down that front straight, probably a little bit of push draft behind him as well, able to take that advantage into the braking zone and take the lead over Rutledge. So now puts the 2 teammates sitting 2nd and 3rd, Rutledge and Schwenkler, with Banks and Ladd back there. And Eric Violette, race 1 winner, just kind of hanging around with Tom Jenkins trailing in behind him. So still a bit of a train going on as we've got an incident under review there. Preventus and the 64, I believe that is Peyton. So we'll take to see what that develops here later on. But as we watch the leaders here in the front of the train of our Club Sport Toyotas, Rathke able to pull away as they come around through the S's, but those 2 teammates, they're probably going to play a little bit of niceness between Rutledge and Schwenkler there for 2nd.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to, Larry, as they come through. You know, they still have the draft, much like the MX-5s do, but you don't want to be that far back coming out of turn number 10 as the MX-5s, as the Street Tuner class comes through turn number 5 here for the 2nd time, and it is in the lead. It is once again Robert Hartley.
Well, Jenkins, we just saw going off there, coming off a 10. He's in the GR86s. He was running 6th right behind Eric Violette. That now looks like he's gone wide. He's going to lose a lot of position. We'll catch back up with them as we're back here with the Mazdas. It is Hartley. It is Fike. What I don't see is Brennan Horn as close. You see, he's dropped back a little bit. He was running.
He lost the position to Greg Mack.
Yeah, he's lost some positions now. He's lost to his teammate in Grant, but also to Greg Mack. So as Mack now runs wide at 10, almost showing us the replay of what Tom Jenkins did a minute ago. But that gives that spot right on back to Brennan Horan, as the other DTD driver is going to try and catch a draft for a moment there for his teammate. That is that Thorman?
That's Thorman coming down the inside, and Thorman bounces off the curb side by side with Jeff Cranston. Cranston for a moment there tried to do an over-under, and the door was closed.
That was Greg Mack there on the inside, the eSport Racer entry that he was fighting alongside. But a good job there on both their parts not to come together. Aggressive move for Thorman, but a great job of the teammate of the Brennan Horn to come over for a moment, give a bit of extra draft. I love the awareness of Brennan Horn to say, let me give him a bit of draft for just a bit. Maybe he can make this pass. It works out there for teammates.
All right, there we go. Penalty given to Patrick Prevenus for the incident with David Payton. 10-second stop and hold. And he's going to come down the pit lane and see David Payton there in the pit lane as well, getting repairs. So we'll see where they come out here as we jump over back to this fight in the Toyotas. And there you go. There's Robert Schwenkler.
Now. Yeah, Schwenkler had his issue. He had run a bit wide, so he's now moved to the back. He was 3rd in this train. Now he's behind the race 1 winner Violet. We know that's where he was the entire first race, so he's familiar with those grounds. He's familiar with the view of the back of that T2D car. But back here, look at this, side by side. That is Jenkins now on the recovery run, getting to the inside of the 141 of Paul Carey. I think that's Paul Carey's one of the Careys. Yes, it is. As not to be confused with Rodney Carey in the 33, just coming around the corner behind us. But Paul Carey now giving up that spot to the to Rubik and to Jenkins. And now a big pile up. That's Casey.
That's John Casey who goes around, and a little bit of contact directly behind him as everybody was checking up Larry as they saw a little bit of track blockage there. But let's do this as we've got a new leader here in Street Tuner. It is Jordy Fike now taking over the point from Robert Hartley. Had just run the fastest lap of the race of anybody out here, and moved the number 3 machine back into 2nd place. Jeffrey Cranston, who is our AM category leader, once again sitting 3rd in the MX-5s.
Yeah, Jeff Cranston having a great night so far tonight. Don't want to jinx him on that. We'll ignore him for a minute. But Jordy Fike now to the point, out here taking that draft on the front straight, getting past Hartley, this is a good battle. We saw Fike have some great pace in that first race until that unfortunate incident that took him out. So we'll see if he can now show some more of that great pace. I'm just going to keep an eye on the rest of this train behind them to see how soon Brennan Horan catches up. He's still, you can see the gap there, not quite up to his teammate, but he's got a teammate behind him that maybe can help push should it come to it. But I'm also seeing the 27 of Polici just lingering back there. So we'll see how long it takes for him as the front of this group not changed this time by, but I'm just watching also the 71 of Peliqui Grant kind of scuffing the front of that car as he's pushing Cranston along down the street.
He's preconditioning the nose.
He's definitely doing some work there, trying to stay in. But that's what these cars are. You have to do bump draft. If you can do it gently and you cannot wreck the guy in front of you, these cars do bump draft very well. You just got to do it more on corner exit than corner entry. But he's doing a good job staying in this, not trying to get by Jeffrey Cranston. He just wants to stay with him to make sure Cranston does the same behind him. As we flash back to the lead overall in the race, now it's Rathke moving over to give a bit of a draft to Banks to try and also get around Rutledge. Rutledge has the inside line, though, to try and hold on to it. But I think Banks is going to get a run off of 2.
Yeah, if he can keep that car on track over that gator teeth on driver's left, he is alongside, and I believe he's got a nose up. More importantly, he's going to have inside position going into turn 3 and before the braking zone. There you go. Scott Banks now moves into second in Street Tuner and second in Pro as we now look at that fight in Club Sport, or probably in, this is Street Tuner.
Yeah.
Now coming down hard on the braking as we have both Robert Hartley and also Jeff Cranston from the inside move ahead of Jordy Fike. And look at that.
I think Fike started this lap in the lead, and Fike is now down to 4th.
As Palakui Grant manages to get past the 09 machine as well. And Larry, here is your wish. As they went 2x2 into turn 1, here come the reinforcements for Palakui Grant. We've got Brennan Horan and Chris Thorman now right up to the back.
Who's that right behind the 2 DTD cars?
Oh, it might be Eugenio Polici, who is back from his express flight to Italy from Dulles Airport.
Yes, and then he took an Uber all the way to Summit, and here he is in this train with only 8 minutes gone in this race. He's got 22 minutes, and he was clearly one of the quickest ones we'd seen before the unfortunate incident in that first race. He looks like he's on the revenge drive right now, and all this fighting in front of him is his absolute wish. Every bit of fighting means that he has more opportunity to catch, but he's got work to do. He's going to have to get by 3 of the D2D teammates to get anywhere near there. So we'll see what kind of patience he can show. Is Cranston now maybe a fight for position for the lead, or is he just going to push Hartley along?
Well, he's showing the nose.
Oh, how much nose does he give to Hartley? Nothing. He's going to stay behind him. So he's going to play the game right now as your AM category leader, stuffed in among a whole slew of pro category here in that
and Larry, I was going to mention that the next AM category driver is Chuck Labano, who is sitting 7 cars back from Jeff Cranston.
Yep, there he is. You can see him and his grandson there in the profile photo. But yeah, you can see him in the back of the train, and he is just miles back when you consider the number of pro ST drivers between them.
Yeah, and so at this point, Cranston doesn't have that much to fight for, but I wouldn't want to necessarily get bum rushed by a bunch of pro category drivers and just lay down. So we'll see how he plays it. But now coming to the turn number 1, completing lap number 6. Tom Rathke still your leader with Scotty Banks, Joey Rutledge, Eric Violet, and there is Ken Ladd getting overtaken by Robert Schwenkler. Yeah,
Schwenkler on a bit of that recovery now, trying to get his spots back after he hit his off earlier. This, though, is the battle here for, I believe this is for 4th in pro category with the place Dragotta in the ANT category. That's our friend Bobby Childs and Jeff Jacobs mixing it up with one of the Dragottas. They're all now looks like 3 wide. Oh, this is always going to turn out well.
Yeah, absolutely. As they come down through the chute into 5, as Jacobs looks to keep Dragotta between he and Bobby Childs. Dragotta, one of our AM category drivers, or probably one of our
is that Husty spinning out there coming through 6?
Yes, Brad Husty, and that's the second time we've seen Brad Husty in the 137 in that area of the track in the grass.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He was having such a good go, and now he's going to lose again. A lot more track position here as he's trying to be nice and come back on. Just stuff your nose back in there and get out on that track, Brad. That's unfortunate because he was having a good run. As we flash back up to the leaders, this front four very strong right now. Rathke, Banks, your leaders in Pro, Rutledge, your leader in AM, and then Eric Violette, your Race 1 winner in Pro. Being patient back there and letting these front three sort things out. But he's probably also trying to be smart in not fighting because he knows he's got a fast Schwinkler just behind him.
Just behind, exactly. All right, here we go again with Dragotta, with Jacobs, and with Bobby Childs. And Bobby Childs, as they come out of turn 2, looks like he now takes over 4th position from Jeff Jacobs, as Jacobs slots back in line between behind the other two.
You know what I love about this battle is Leo Dragotta is not the eldest driver we've ever come across. He's certainly one of the youngest we've come across. Bobby and Jeff are not 2 of the youngest drivers that we have in our series. This is great. This is, the age and experience against the youth and exuberance going on with this little battle. 2 of the guys of the age right now are chasing the young driver Leo in front of them. This is a lot of fun. That little insight is just something to be aware of the age difference between them. There's a couple of decades between each of the 2 behind to the one they're chasing.
And you are talking about age and not like emotional,
Jeff Jacobs is a very stable driver.
Yes.
In his mature age. I'll leave it at that.
Well, at least 2 of that. 2 of the 3. All right, here we go, side by side in the 1. It's Rathke and Banks. Banks to the inside, Rathke to the outside,
Rathke's gonna lose
Joey
too.
Rutledge behind.
This looks like what we just saw in the Mazdas about 3-4 laps ago, where the leader at that point was Jordy Fike and gave up position after position. This time, it looks like it might be Rathke doing the same, but he's got the inside at 3. Oh boy, side by side through 3. That takes respect. And they both just made it through. Wow.
And as they go just inches apart, great run, but you can also see how much it's opened things up for Scotty Banks. Now, things in your mirrors might be closer than they appear, Larry, but Banks now opening up about 4 car lengths over Rathke and Rutledge just as they were battling through turn 3.
Well, I tell you who else backed out of that a little bit was Eric Violette. Said, you 2 go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm going to sit back here with a view of it all and give myself room to react. He seems to be comfortable now. But there, as they came through 3, Eric had backed off a little bit just in case. But I think that little bit of a battle may have also helped behind them Rob Schwenkler, who was our round 1 AM winner. He's getting closer and closer now, just about 1.2 behind Eric Violette. He can almost sniff draft. He's got to get a little bit closer, and he might be bringing Ken Ladd with him. He's hustling.
He's hustling, and and Ladd's a good distance back. It's going to take a little bit for him to.
They just took about a half a second out. Schwenkler and Ladd both running mid 21s to Rutledge and Violette running low 22s. So they did grab a half a second. They got about another half a second to go before they'll really be in draft range. As this front 4. That is Brennan Horan at the back of this with those 2 D2D entries. So he has caught up to this. As Fike now back there a little bit back. We didn't quite see what happened there.
Yeah, as Fike is now back in that second pack, much further back. And that was an interesting move. Do you think that maybe Cranston got the bump draft just a little bit wrong there? Because that was a big move there by Hartley. About halfway down the front straight.
Possibly, and you can see he's got a little bit of that Polycui Grant wrinkle on the front of the Jeff Cranston Craney Customs car. He's got the custom front end on it. But you also notice Polycui Grant has the signature nose redecoration already at this point of the race, just a halfway point.
That's the custom part of Craney Customs.
There it is. Both D2D drivers have it going on. I think, again, it's what these cars do. You've got to use some of that bumper. You've got to continue to move because if you stay close, you're much faster than if you're further gapped apart. As Banks and Rathke now are side by side through 1. Oh, look at this.
And with Joey Rutledge sitting back in 3rd in the Wrong Stuff car, and Eric Violette again just kind of giving his ground, but. Now, as these 2 drivers go side by side, does Rutledge have a run coming into the chute?
He's done this on the last lap. Why not pick a different driver and do it again? As he's behind Rathke, but it does look like they're going to single file down through the chute. and head into 5 again while Eric Violet just sort of watches. I do wonder at what point, if you're Violet, do you make the push? Now, keep in mind, Violet, as we are on, what are we in, round 7 of this season?
Yeah,
Eric Violet, I believe, has won every round so far.
Right.
Points are not
he
a problem.
He doesn't need to walk away with a first, second, or third at this point.
You never want to lose points if you can. So at some point, he may still want to push up and try and pass, make a pass in this. By the way, this is round 6, and that was round 6 earlier. This is round 7
this
here.
This is round number 7.
Yeah, so coming into this, it looked like, I think it was 5 wins out of 6.
33 points on the rest of the field.
Yeah, I think he's got 5 wins in 6 rounds before this second round here tonight. So, but now you got Patrick Prevenice trying to stay out of the way of this front 4 in the Toyotas. Doing a good job there. It's going to even give a little bit of a draft.
And Prevenice was thinking, maybe I'll move over and get some draft off of the Toyotas.
Oh no! Rathke was around.
Rathke and Rutledge get together over at the apex of turn number 1. That's going to give Scotty Banks now a tremendous advantage, and it moves Eric Violet now up into 2nd position. Schwenkler and Rutledge running now 3rd and 4th, and dropping all the way back 2nd.
It looked like Rutledge,
huge incident involving Rathke here tonight.
Yeah.
Rathke now falling all the way back through the field.
It looked like Rutledge and Rathke may have been the ones that originally came together. I'm sure we'll queue up a replay in a minute. What it does also is it helps Schwenkler now retake the lead in AM category over Rutledge. So those teammates still running 1-2, but Schwenkler, who was a couple car lengths back, now closes right up. And then the gap from Violet to Schwenkler now is just about 7/10, so they're all together as we flash back over to the Mazda lead.
And look at this, Larry, is we now have Cranston sitting back in 4th. Last time we checked in, he was running in 2nd.
Yeah, so he still keeps his lead in AM, but yes, in this train, it now puts those 2 D2D boys with Brennan Horan in 3rd, and now up to 2nd is Polly Kui Grant with an opportunity to chase down your overall leader, who really hasn't had anybody. It didn't look like Cranston ever wanted to pass Robert Hartley there for the lead, but now I'm guessing that Polly Kui Grant's going to feel a little bit differently about that and want to maybe make a push for the lead. So we'll see how that plays out. For Cranston, though, not a terrible time to lose that. Let's take a look at the replay here of our club sports. Watch that 2nd and 3rd place, Rathke and Rutledge. There it is.
Rutledge made a late move to the inside there, Larry. I don't think Rathke would have ever known that he was there.
Agreed. I think that was a struggle there for Rathke to see that coming. Yeah. And unfortunately for the 2 of them, it certainly takes out Rathke. I think Rutledge is still going, but for Rathke, kind of the victim in that, perhaps.
That is unfortunate. Now, as we go back to our street tuner pro and am drivers here, as we've got Robert Hartley, Polly Kui Grant, Brendan Horn, and Jeffrey Cranston. Your first pack, Jordy Fike, who had led this race early on. He is sitting a good distance back in 4th with Eugenio Polici along for the ride. Those 2 drivers pretty much working together about good distance though back.
Yeah, they're about 5-6 seconds back here from this front 4. So unfortunate for them, and you can see them in the back, but unless this front 4 really battles, it's going to be tough for Polici and for Fike to catch up. But a run wide here for Hartley allows Grant to take the lead now.
And here we go as they come into turn 10 with a great run up the hill for this momentum car. And there you go. D2D eRacing's Polly Kui Grant takes the lead for the moment. We'll see as Hartley gets a very good run out of 10. Much better than Horan or Cranston. We'll see if he can draft up and if he wants to make the move down low.
Well, Grant's also getting a draft. He's getting a bit of a draft from the back of that back marker Toyota car there in front of him. That would be the 25. I can't find the driver for a minute, but he got that draft that helped a lot, and that driver's not quite fully out of the way as the Mazdas are going to go side by side with him.
I think that's Marlon Jones.
Yes, it is. Led Paul Racing entry. He's trying to stay out of the way of this group as best he can. But I'll tell you where Rob Hartley had gone off. Sometimes if you miss time, it's very rhythmic coming out of those S's. And if you miss time the entry of the last kink of it, the car pushes wide. If you lift, as speaking of sliding, then Brennan Horn does a little bit of a drift.
Yeah, as Horn,
but for Hartley,
Horn gets on the throttle a little early coming out of turn 5, and the rear end steps around on him.
So as we go through this section, I'll kind of talk it through here as you go to the left curbing here to the right. If you turn in right here a little late, pushes the car wide, and you got to use the Corby, but if you run too wide, you don't want to lift. But it looks like that's what happened to Hartley. He ran wide, slid out there in the grass, had to give up some time, allowed Grant to go to the inside. And Grant looks like he's quicker through there again on this lap. As we flash back to the group here, Tom Jenkins now ahead of Dragota and Bobby Childs with Jeff Jacobs now. So the 4 of them into this pack. Remember, this was a pack of 3. They have caught Tom Jenkins, and this would be for 4th in the AM category. For 4th and 5th there for Jenkins and Dragota, Bobby Childs and Jeff Jacobs running 3rd and 4th in the Pro.
Jacobs running a little bit wide, coming down the hill, coming as he came out of 3, as he is now side by side for a moment there with Bobby Childs, and he's going to go deep underneath, and
backed out just a little bit.
Had the back out there, just wasn't close enough alongside, but we saw it there. Bobby's going along with the Kevin Ford School of Turn 5. He's leaving the door open, coming down there almost every single lap. If Jacobs can be a little closer coming through the chute, he probably has an opportunity there.
Well, take a look at this as Eric Violet has turned on the afterburners and he has caught Scott Banks. Remember a few laps ago, he was about 2 seconds back. That is gone entirely as Eric's running quality laps at this point to try and catch up and to break away from the wrong stuff teammates of Schwenkler and Rutledge behind. So now you've got game on for the Pro and the overall lead between Banks and Violet. Game on for the lead in the AM between the teammates Schwenkler and Rutledge.
So we've got 8 minutes left to go, and so Banks, Violet, and now and it looks like
not again for Jenkins.
Oh, here we go. As Jenkins goes around, and it looks like possibly Bobby Childs was involved with that, and
he's there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, let's see if we can see what happened here, as it was just getting very tight there between Dragota. Yeah, let's see. As they come down into turn 1.
That's Bobby on the inside. How late of a dive is it? He is late on the brakes. He makes it, but it doesn't look like Jenkins actually left him much room.
No, didn't. And I think with Bobby getting that curbing, might have pushed him out just a little bit.
Perhaps. And Bobby now trying to stay out of the way of the Mazda lead here with Grant, Hartley, Horan, and Cranston making their way past him. With 7 minutes to go, Grant has made his way up into the lead again. We'll see if Hartley can fix his issues here through the S's and make the push back up to catch for the lead. This seems to be the weakness. A little bit of the weak point here in Hartley's game tonight has been those S's.
And sounds like Bobby Childs getting a drive-through penalty, as he has just been awarded responsibility for that incident.
Very interesting that being a steward's a tough position, tough thing to do, but it was a tough call there between that. Perhaps Bobby didn't have enough car alongside to be in that position, but the penalty goes to him again on this one. But back to the front of the lead in the Mazdas as Grant still leads away. Doesn't look like Hartley had enough of a run to make the move. And certainly Brennan Horn behind is not going to push Hartley past.
No.
Grant's team.
No, not. That's probably not within the teammate rulebook there.
So if Hartley's going to do it, he's going to have to do it all on his own. But he also knows if he steps out, as right now it looks like Grant struggles a little bit under brakes into 5. Holds his line. So many different lines going through 5.
All right, here we go.
Lead.
Side by side, coming down into turn 1. Banks to the inside, Violet to the outside, and we've seen where the outside line can get a good run here. But Scotty Banks defends against the over/under. Does a great job of holding off the 89 machine.
Yeah, this is a tough battle. Again, this isn't like what we had seen in the first race where Schwenkler and Violet, where they're actually in different classes. This is for a class position between Banks and Violet. So, now if you're Eric Violet, you want this position. Before when it's an AM car, you're like, oh, okay, I could let him hold on to this. But now, and speaking of swapping for the lead, this is Grant under pressure from Hartley. Hartley not able to make it stick, and it's going to let Brennan Horn go inside.
Yeah, you saw there Hartley just came so deep down into the inside, Larry, and he pushed all the way to that those gator teeth on the outside of turn number 1. He was still trying to gather the car back up, keep from going off into the dirt and the gravel there, and allow Brendan Horn through as well. Cranston, still a little bit further back, was not able to take advantage of that, however.
Well, this is going to be tough for Hartley, because now if he wants to win, he has to get not one but two D2D teammates out of the way. And I can tell we've seen Brendan Horn. He's been to the Jeff Jacobs School of wide car driving. It's not going to be easy to make the pass. But speaking of passing, Violet now has the inside on the 7 of Banks, and he's got the lead.
There you go. Is pretty textbook there, as Banks really had no response to that move by Eric Violet. And so now with just a little bit under 4 minutes remaining, so probably 3 laps to go here, we've got our new leader, and it is Eric Violet for the first time this race. And now we watch, this is Jeff Jacobs, who is now firmly ensconced in third in Club Sport Pro. He and Leo Dragata battling it out. Dragata right now currently running 4th in AM.
Yeah, great job here for Jacobs, continuing to make the push. Now in a potential podium position in that pro class. So great run for him. Now he's just going to have a good little battle there with the youngster in Dragota there in that overall list. But here's Eugenio Polici. And I don't know who that is off to the right.
I'm not sure who that is. I think that was Patrick Preventis, possibly.
Possibly, unfortunately, out there in your
Larry,
favorite beach.
Here's the big surprise here. Look at the second car in this group. And that second car is Jeff Cranston, who had been up with our top 3 drivers, had been up and running with Palakui, Grant Brennan Horn, and Robert Hartley.
That is a bit of a shocker there to see that. And for him, though, he still holds on to that class lead, but certainly at much more of a risk down here than where he had been running up there with Grant Horn and Hartley.
Yeah, because he's got Chuck Labano not very far back.
Yeah, right there at the back of that train. You can see him.
As Labano gets around Polici now. And Cranston, he's now got his main competitor directly behind him.
It's what we talked about earlier when Cranston was nice and happy near the front of the train with all those pro cars between he and Labano. Now he's got himself only just a couple car lengths out of Labano, and only one car, that is the number 2 of Greg Mack, between Jeff Cranston and Chuck Labano. We'll see what kind of pace Greg Mack has to try and close that gap, because that's really what Labano wants. And there goes Greg Mack, finding 2 tires in the gravel there at 3.
Here we go. Is Brendan Horn? He's playing the good teammate or the good wingman there, managing to hold off Robert Hartley now. With when they come to the line, Larry, they should. I believe, because we're going to be coming up on the 29-minute mark, they should be getting the white flag this time by.
Actually, the white flag has to be given to the Toyotas first.
Oh, that's
It'll be
right.
These guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Who I'm looking at it. They'll be able to get around.
I think we're going to be exactly in the same position we were in the previous round, Larry. Here, that they will likely get to the start-finish line. Possibly.
But what I can tell you is
before the checker,
those 2 wrong stuff drivers have closed up the gap as long as Violet and Banks were battling. So now your AM category leader is right behind Scott Banks for 3rd overall in the race, but pushing for that 2nd spot that Banks currently holds. Banks, of course, wants to get by Eric Violet and win the pro category in this race as they come up here to turn 10. And yes, I would say we are going to get one more lap flyer by about 3 seconds, if I have to do the math in my head. And no, math's not your strong suit.
No, it is not.
That looks like a flag waving that appears to be color white.
Yep, here we go. One more lap to go.
And with about 2 seconds.
Yeah, again, just like the last race. So Violet, your leader, and now here he goes. Robert Schwenkler coming down the outside. Scotty Banks moves to defend as he was trying to draft down, and Violet all the way to the inside trying to defend. Can Banks make the run down to turn number 3 on Violet?
I can't believe Violet hasn't chopped across yet, but maybe he knew he could get the run. Violet able to get to that advantage point, but boy, if I'm Violet, I would have unwound the hands much earlier. Now as Banks finds the gravel, still with pressure from Schwenkler behind, but look how close they are through 4. They might almost touch.
And now you can see as Violet goes to defend, comes down the center of track, and wow, let's take a look here as they come through the carousel through turn 6. Can Banks get up close enough to Violet? No, not through there. He's going to have really one more opportunity, and that is going to be to try and draft past him coming out of turn 10, and that is going to be very difficult.
Well, he's going to have to get a great run and hope Violet doesn't. Meanwhile, Schwenkler is ready to pounce should either of these two touch and tangle. But watch this run off of this corner. This is the pressure. It's all for the marbles here. Not a great run for Violet. He is going to go defend to the inside and make Banks go the long way. It's a drag race.
It's a drag, and as they come down to the line, taking the win, Eric Violet, margin of victory 44 thousandths of a second. Robert Schwenkler, he's going to take the win in Club Sport AM, with Joey Rutledge finishing 2nd in AM. Ken Ladd will finish 3rd. And coming to the line now and finishing on the last step of the podium in Club Sport Pro, it's Jeff Jacobs. Now let's take a look. Here we go. Battle for the win in Street Tuner. The two teammates from D2D. It's Palakui Grant and Brennan Horn. And Horn waving the windshield wipers to Palakui Grant. I think he's more than satisfied to finish 2nd. Palakui Grant takes the win. Brennan Horn will finish 2nd. Robert Hartley will finish in 3rd. And Jeff Cranston, he's going to hold off Chuck Labano. He's going to take the win in Street Tuner AM, with Chuck Labano finishing in 2nd, and coming home in 3rd would be Eduardo Lorente. Sorry, Eduardo.
Well, I'm impressed. Both races, if I have this right, were won by the same 4 drivers in each of their classes.
Yes.
That I'm not sure we've ever seen that before.
And that's with the field invert.
Yes, very impressive. What it means is the drivers really work hard to get to those positions, but it's also they were able to avoid the chaos and take their class wins. Great racing. This place does produce great racing with this kind of car. I love it. Really respectful driving all around and a lot of fun to watch.
All right, well, let's do this, Larry. Let's take another break. We're going to thank some of our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here from Summit Point, where you've just seen both round 6 and 7 of the Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup presented by Performa Elite, and we'll be right back.
Allow Extreme Scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
The search is over. The most comprehensive league scoring solution is here, with the ability for multi-level championships, custom incident tracking, post-race time penalties, support for heats, drop weeks display, multi-car team scoring, advanced web widgets, rookie championships, a custom paint system, and load those results in seconds. Visit extremescoring.info today.
And welcome back to my home away from home, Summit Point Raceway, Summit Point Motorsports Park. scene of round 6 and 7 of season number 23's Extreme Motorsports Ricmotech Touring Car Cup, presented by Proforma Elite. If you want to find out more about Proforma Elite, visit them at www.proformaetg.com. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Larry Lefty McLeod. And Larry, it's time to start talking to some of our podium finishers here. Let's do this. Why don't we start off with I'm playing roulette
Start out
here.
with Schwenkler, our AM leader
let's start off with Robert Schwenkler. He was our Club Sport AM winner tonight here, 2 races in a row at Summit Point.
All right, your Club Sport AM winner in both races tonight is Robert Schwenkler. And Robert, amazing racing going on with the whole pack, not just with an AM, but with the pressure you're putting on in the first race to Eric Violette, and all the pressure you were under and put on in the second race. Are you out of breath? Are you as tired and exhausted running this race as we are just watching?
Yeah, I'm sweating for sure. That was some great racing. That's probably the most fun I've had in a long while.
Unbelievable stuff. And then you had your teammate there for most of it, on and off. When you're in that pack of 4 and having your teammate Joey there with you, are you guys at all on comms? You talking together, or is it all just one for himself?
No, yeah, we were in comms, going back and forth, trying to figure out some strategy there. But it all worked out at the end. I think maybe there was that little kerfuffle there in turn 1 with Joey and I think Tom. I think there was a post penalty there, so that's unfortunate. But otherwise, yeah, it was good stuff.
Oh, amazing racing. And you really put the pressure on Violette. You're an AM and he's in the pro, but does that at all go through your mind, or are you just thinking, I want to win this overall?
No, I'm just thinking I want to win. He and I did some practice earlier in the week, and I knew he had pace, and I was able to keep up with him, and vice versa. So I knew it was going to be a close battle. I'm glad we got through it unscathed. It was a lot of fun.
Oof, yeah, unscathed, maybe just barely in the use of that term, because there was a lot of scathing going on. But for you able to take a win in both the rounds, that's a heck of an achievement, which a couple of folks did tonight. I'm shocked, but what it means is you're able to find a way to move to the front, even with the inverse order. A great job there. But for you, a win here, and for the team, the wrong stuff, I'm sure you want to give some shout outs and thanks to those folks.
Yeah, huge shout out to the whole team and our sponsors. My mind just went totally blank, so I apologize. Maconi Setup Shop. Yeah, I'm a horrible driver, and my sponsors are gonna want to choke me, so I suck. Sorry, guys.
Well, they can see the car there on the screen.
Yeah,
they can pick up
just read the car.
All right. Well, Robert, congrats. This is an awesome race tonight, both round 1 and round 2. I guess round 6 and round 7. Your winner in the Club Sport AM division, Robert Schwenkler. Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go, Robert Schwenkler, the best pitch man ever. All right, there we go. Larry, let's move on now, and we are going to bring in, I think here, and I'm looking to see who else we have. Let's bring in Eric Violette, driver of the number 89 D2D E-Racing Toyota, your winner tonight in Club Sport Pro.
All right, Eric Violette, amazing racing tonight. We just got done talking to Robert Schwenkler, who just, he seemed like he was exhausted, out of breath. I got to ask, are you kind of the same way right now? Did that one beat you up pretty good?
Yeah, the whole group down in the waiting area, we're just soaking in our chairs here.
Unbelievable stuff. But I was impressed watching that battle, because so much respectful racing, a lot of side-by-side, a lot of nose to tail. But from you, with the invert order, puts you back in 5th. That was a lot of patience to sit there and watch all that in front of you going on, to wait for your moment. Did you want to make a move earlier, or were you just saying, go ahead, guys, sort this out first?
No, I can see, I think 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th, we're kind of mixing it up. I'm like, I'll just see if I pick up some positions. I'm pretty sure I can get a 5. That means I would be Rathje. I thought Rathje was going to run away with it there. So I figured that would be just a wash on the points. He got 5th in the first, I got 1st. And then I figured just invert it. If I get a 5th and he gets a 1st, it's no difference on my lead. But then, I don't know, somebody made up, whoever was in 5th kind of bobbled, and I think I got around him, and then all hell broke loose in turn 1. I caught a little bit of it. I wasn't sure how my wheels were and things like that, but didn't seem to do anything, so.
Well, I tell you what, when that little bit of a thing happened there in 1, I think that was with Rafke and Rutledge, you were a couple seconds back from Banks, and we were wondering how much pace you had, and suddenly within about 2 laps, you were on the tail of Banks, kind of turned the afterburners. Were you just kind of waiting for your moment to lay a couple of qualities down and get up underneath them?
Yeah, the thing, like we're talking before the race. It's hard to pass here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of waiting for my opportunity, and I really wanted to keep that 2-second gap back to Robert in Heat 2, and it was I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes to go. And I'm like, it's too early. But then he made a bobble on turn 10, went out in the sand a little bit, and I'm like, all right, I'll just go for it. So opportunity kind of landed in my lap. I went for it, and then I think we kind of mixed it up a few more, and then all of a sudden Robert was there too. I was like, okay, hopefully they'll tangle. But I was like, okay, the worst I can get is third if I don't get spun. So that was kind of my big thing, was I just wanted to finish.
Yeah, well, you did that. A great race among the whole front pack. You guys were just so much fun to watch. And for you, a win in both rounds, round 6 and round 7 here tonight. That's a theme we've got going on. We're just super impressed this could happen. But you managed to take home another victory here for the D2D team, and unbelievable driving tonight, Eric. Anybody you want to give a special thanks to tonight?
Yeah, same group, Pro Forma Elite for sponsoring the league and sponsoring the team. Chris Thorman over there, great guy. Extreme Motorsports for primary sponsor of the league. Extreme Motorsports for being the league. Ricmotech for being the primary sponsor for the series. And then, of course, you guys. I can't wait to watch this broadcast. Sounds like there was a lot of action tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it was good racing. It sounded like there was a few penalties, so I have to see what was happening back there behind me.
It was awesome racing, top to bottom, except some guy named Bobby, but we'll let him sort that out. You the rest of the D2D team can get on him about that. But for you, just immaculate driving, taking on victory in both rounds. I'm impressed. Another couple of victories for you, Eric. Great job. Congrats, and we'll see you, I guess, probably next week.
All right. Big shout out to my awesome wife and family for letting me do this again. Thanks,
As
guys.
always, can't do without them. So congrats, Eric, on that victory.
All right, there you go, Eric Violet from D2D eRacing. Larry, let's now move over to Street Tuner Pro, and we're going to start off with driver who finished second from D2D eRacing. It's Brennan Horan.
Hi, Brennan. Tonight, great driving. A second place in, I believe, in both races here for you and the D2D team. Awesome run, but you had to work your way through a couple of sets of field in both rounds. Tell me a little bit about that challenge to move up a couple of spots in this tough field.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky in race 1 with some of those incidents ahead of me. But after that, yeah, it was just a tough battle. And right at the beginning of this whole weekend, really, I was saying to people, like, it's a sprint race. We're going to have to start making moves really quick to make up any spots that we lost in qualifying. Of course, I didn't qualify too well. But I kind of went against that. I actually was just patient for most of the race and kind of let things unfold in front of me. And sure enough, in race 1, there was a few incidents in front of me, which got me up. And then race 2, it was a little bit more racing for me in race 2, especially with Hartley and Palakui. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm just happy to be up here.
Yeah, awesome job. We kept watching you moving up into the field and end up right there, and it kind of willing or even at times physically pushing your teammate along to make sure that you guys would take that 1-2 for D2D. Are you guys coordinating those pushes? I noticed you weren't pushing Rob so much, but you certainly weren't shy on making sure Palakui got the extra bumps.
Yeah, some of our teammates don't like it because, normally we'd be using hand signals, but of course to coordinate stuff on here, we have to get on the radio, and some of our teammates don't really like listening to us talk while we're racing, but it worked out for us tonight. But yeah, we were definitely coordinating all that. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without his cooperation, and you probably wouldn't have been able to do it without my cooperation. So definitely a team game tonight.
Yeah, awesome stuff. It's great to see you guys making that challenge and taking home the 1-2 here tonight. Anybody you want to give a special thanks to here?
Big shout out to D2D Racing. It was we put a lot of laps of practice in tonight, so big shout out to David, Chris, Eric, Bobby, and big shout out to Palakui because we really fit well together. Shout out to Extreme for putting this on, Ricmotech for their support, Proforma Elite for their support, you guys for the great broadcast as always. I love watching it while I'm racing. And big shout out to my family for their support.
Did he just say while he was racing?
No.
That wouldn't surprise me, but then again, it'd be awesome. But Brennan, awesome job here tonight. Back-to-back second place finishes for you and helping your teammate get the back-to-back wins. We're going to talk to him in a second. But for you, podiums matched up is a great result for you. Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Brendan Horn, driver the number 45, D2DE Racing Mazda Miata. Let's move over now to his teammate, our winner in Street Tuner Pro, Palakui Grant.
All right, Palakui, I amazing racing to watch here tonight, but I gotta say, you guys seem to have a very unique and custom front molding on the front of those Mazdas that the D2D seems to have a patent on. It only appears halfway through the race. It's pretty amazing, but I'm guessing it comes from what I call an aggressive composure. You tend to be patient behind somebody, but you are aggressive to stay there and help them along. Is that all part of the strategy to keep this train moving?
Oh, it's funny you should say that. It's something we may have patent pending coming up soon. That whole halfway through the race, we get that little bit more drag to help the car stick. But coming through the race and just sticking behind everyone, it's really, especially on a track like Summit Point, you want to stick behind the driver as much as possible. It really is a mind game of how you can push each other along and keep to both your mirrors and in front of you to understand the positioning of the cars. So it's a chess match out there, especially in a track like this. And it's really when who's going to make the mistake and who's going to be able to capitalize.
Yeah, well, and you did. I was just watching you at points, when you were behind in the first round, sitting behind Jeff Cranston and just kind of willing him along to stay in that pace and keeping him where he was. But clearly you weren't interested in necessarily pushing to go by and waiting for that opportunity, which ultimately comes with, as some incidents and things. But you managed to stay clear of that, get a teammate behind you, win round one. Second race, start the race in fifth. But again, more of that patience, more of that waiting, and suddenly you find yourself up there with Hartley, and now again you had the teammate there with you to help you along. How much does that mean to have a teammate with you to be able to work around a guy who has much skill and experience as Rob Hartley?
Well, if you remember Alton Park, we had Mike Dam, myself, and Robert Hartley fighting on the last couple of laps, and it was the inverse this time. We have me and Brennan all coming down, and now just Robert Hartley. So, it's nice to have a teammate on your side, and we were pulling along quite a bit, and this is actually where communication is absolutely paramount between drivers and even between opponents as well, because how you position the car and where you end up, especially at I guess I call this the chess match track. It's really how you respond to what your opponent does. Having the buffer and a good teammate behind you is really what made this work today. And I give all the credit to him because he did an amazing job keeping the car back there and putting on one heck of a defense against Robert Hartley.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing to watch you guys kind of working on. We could tell Brennan wasn't going to push Hartley when he was behind you. When he got the opportunity to get by, he was going to be that block. And you guys seemed to just work so well together, you and Brennan, and put on a beautiful display of teamwork and great racing with Rob and with Jeff Cranston and all the others that were up in that pack. It just looked like a lot of fun tonight. Early on, you had Polici, you had Jordy Fike in there. All these guys, so much great respect for racing. It just looked like fun. Like I wish it would go on for hours and hours, but every race comes to an end. And tonight, the checkers ended with you at the front of those packs both times, which is an awesome feat and just amazing. Congrats on that. And I know you've already given a bunch of shout outs to Brennan. Anybody else you want to mention here for the wins tonight?
Oh, yes. Again, just another big shout out to our team, D2D Racing, spot on today. Eric with both wins over in the Pro GR86 class. So, that's amazing stuff and a good thing for our team points. Of course, Papa and Tutu, always appreciate them watching. They always watch my races. I love them so much. All three of my brothers, Wes, as always, and Sakurai, my guy. Love you, man. And another shout out too, because Bobby put me up to this, but if you want chaotic racing, just head on over to Bobby's Racing School. We can get you in, hit those curbs real hard, and get some nice door-to-door racing. But in all seriousness, he actually does all the designs for our team. So all of, our paint schemes and up there are all his designs, and he's an amazing artist. I give him a shout out here. He makes not just us, but all the decals and standards for all the other cars really nice. So a big shout out to him.
Yeah, Bobby's a good guy. We'll keep him around for a while, I guess. But for you,
yeah, I guess.
Awesome job tonight, even with the custom front end that you tend to put on that Mazda. A great result for you. Wins in both round 6 and round 7 tonight. That's tough thing to do, and you managed to pull that off. It's going to be good for the points for you for the season. So congrats, Palakui Grant, your winner tonight.
Thank you very much. Aloha, hui ho, see ya.
All right, there you go. Palakui Grant from D2D eRacing, your winner tonight in Street Tuner?
Street Tuner?
Street Tuner Pro. All right, there you go. And you heard it. You too can apply to Bobby Child's racing school, learn how to bounce off curbs. And now that we know that Bobby is the one doing all the graphic designs, we know he's the one that's who's doing the graphics on the nose there. Very important. All right, thanks so much to Palakui Grant. All right, let's move on now, Larry. And the last driver they're going to speak to tonight, he was your winner this evening in Street Tuner AM, and that is Jeff Cranston from Crane Customs.
Yeah, Jeff, great job tonight. Wins in both round 1 and round 2. They're in the AM category, but you mixed it up with the rest of the pro category with them the whole time. Unbelievable performance here tonight. Jeff, tell me a little bit about sticking with this group, what it's like running with them and kind of running away with the AMs.
Hey, Greg. Hey, Larry. Yeah, not sure what I was doing up there, but I was having fun doing it. Yeah, had some pace here, fun track. Car was taking what I was throwing at it, and yeah, running with those guys was fun. Didn't want to hinder the whole pro category too much, being in between them, but didn't want to lift and lose the pack, so just left it in the fate until I made a mistake. And that's what happened.
Well, in that first race, you stuck right there the whole time, managed to be part of that invert of the front, which is awesome job to stay. The second race that we did see, a bit of an incident brought you back in there. At that point, with a couple laps to go, you're starting to see where Chuck was behind you. Is that become your focus, is to keep a car at that point that Greg Mack was between you guys? Are you just saying, I can't let Greg Mack get close to me?
Yeah, once I was getting sorted on that recovery, did glance down, knew Greg was hungry to come by after Jordy, but then, yeah, I saw Chuck's name down there, so kind of had to hold him off.
You did a very good job of that. Again, mix it up really well with these pro guys tonight and took wins in both round 6 and round 7 here in the Street Tuner AM category. Awesome job. Great pace here tonight in both sprint races. Never easy to do, and you managed to keep it clean, which never easy for the most part. Man, it's never easy around this place and with these Mazdas. But awesome job on that. But anybody you want to give a special thanks to here tonight for the victories?
Yeah, just as usual, the XMS League, the admins, the league sponsors, Ricmotech, Pro Forma Elite Graphics, you guys at Apex Racing in the booth, always make it fun to watch, and all the drivers. Great group of guys, clean racing. Yeah, having a blast here.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jeff, congratulations tonight on wins in both rounds in the AM category. Very well done for you and the Craney Customs team. So congrats on the victories.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Jeff Cranston from Craney Customs, and our last interviewee of the evening, Larry. So let's start to wrap things up here from Summit Point Raceway and take a look at what we've got coming up in 1 week. Next Monday night, July 10th, the Ricmotech World Challenge. Those are our GT3 and LMDH cars, or GTP cars. They are going to be headed to the Ardennes Forest, heading to Belgium and Spa-Francorchamps for a 75-minute run to the checkered flag. And then in 2 weeks, the Touring Car Cup returns, this time going to move just a little bit south. Going to be heading down Route 29 to Danville and actually Alton, Virginia, and Virginia International Raceway. And of course, don't forget our Ricmotech Sports Car Series returns August 23rd. Those are for GT4 and TCR cars. I don't have a site for you yet, but we know, again, it's August 23rd. If you want to go to xmsracing.com, you can find out more about it. So For Larry McLeod, for Lee Thompson, I'm Greg Ginsburg. I want to wish everybody here in the United States a happy 4th of July, and enjoy yourself. Don't, be safe. I've already got some folks right out my door here setting off fireworks. I want to see all of you come back with arms and legs and be able to race next week. So have a great week, everybody. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.